Robocop Rogue City. Robocop Rogue City is another Robocop movie. If you're a Robocop fan, it will put a smile on your face. To load in and actually hear those footsteps and walk around as Robocop. I'm not a giant first person shooter type person. That's what this game is. But it still holds the immersion of playing as Robocop. He walks around. It's everything that's it's the type of immersion where it's past the story. It's what happens in between the scenes of the story. It's the daily life of Robocop. Where Robocop is at the police station and he's taking in all sorts of awareness of how people treat him and how he wishes he was normal, his old human self again. You pick up on things. And he goes out. You yourself walk through the locker room, past it, to Robocop's chair. You get up out of the chair and you walk through the locker room, through the police station. You can go down to the shooting range, or you walk down to the parking garage. And then you hop in the car and it loads you in to where you need to be. And then you do a set of missions where you're walking around patrolling the streets as Robocop. And you talk to people. And sometimes bad guys jump out of nowhere. And you shoot them. As Robocop. And Robocop is super interesting. It's one of those things where it doesn't make sense, but they needed to build a video game. When you watch those movies, bullets fly off of Robocop, but he also takes damage. He's part machine. But it's the kind of thing where people shoot Robocop in the head and the bullet just flies off. But then there's that open mask. But he takes that part. I don't know. Robocop, he's walking around in armor. So I guess the impact of the bullet can damage his functionality. Robocop can get shot up and shut down. So it's a type of power fantasy is what they've built. Because when playing it, I never really felt in danger. There were moments when I had to retreat And the game is challenging in that way, where you can die. But at the same time, you're shooting people. Fast forward, the enemies get stronger. So you have to build Robocop systems to be stronger. And there's a mini game to that where they put it in your hands of how effective you wire and circuit his system. And I don't want to say it. It's a bit of a spoiler. But at some point later in the game, the enemies get stronger and things become a little repetitive. And if you've watched Robocop the movie, there's one move that kind of equalizes the problem. And that's when the thieves, the thugs, grab that woman in the alley and Robocop shows up. And it's just crotch shots. The entire second half of this game is nothing but crotch shots because the enemies got stronger. So I don't know. It's a type of, what do you call it? It's a wink at the camera of fan service. Of the game becomes that challenging, of where you might just want to is do this comedic thing. The graphics are really neat. It feels like a computer game. Back in the old days, when there was a difference, nowadays games are just built to be games. But back in the old days, there was a clear, defined difference between PC gaming and console gaming. And on PC, there was a certain type of game that showed up, and it was a little PC had a little more leeway. You could build rugged streets and whatnot. There were games that could be made that were a little more reality based that wouldn't show up on your PlayStation or Nintendo. And things like Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, for example. Games like that where a bit of reality shows up in this concrete streets. And in this game, you see a lot of it. There's something that happens. As fun as it is to be Robocop, that really carries you throughout this game is your love of Robocop and how enjoyable that character can be. Because he also walks really slow. And there are places to get to. And you have to really enjoy being Robocop. And I did. I enjoyed every second of it. I was like, this is the move where they're gonna finally Robocop has arrived at the destination. And then he kicks down the door. You don't want a fast moving Robocop. Uh it's fun. There's an aspect to it that is not triple A. And yet it's still a lot of fun. But something also happens where you pick up on what they built, where it's no longer something happened where you somewhere near the end of this game you stop being a player and start being a developer. And I think it had to do with how the story progressed. And I found myself dialing out. The enemies became repetitive. I didn't feel like patrolling anymore. And all I wanted to do is take in the story of what's happening with Robocop right now. So the minute that a story beat popped up, I got excited again. Oh, I forgot I'm playing Robocop. And that really is what happens in this game. Because by the end of it, it's amazing. I don't know how to put it. So that this game starts out, it shoots you in the air as a high. And then you have to do a bunch of paroles. And then you're talking to people in menus and in dips. You're talking to people, you're investigating things that don't matter, like lost cats and whatnot. You're talking with homeless folks. And it dips in the stuff that doesn't matter. You think doesn't matter. When you watch the movie, it's like he's investigating who killed him and who is trying to tear up the city, and he's gonna find them. And in this game is you're talking with everyone. You're talking with homeless people and shady backstabbers and people who are trying to make a living. At one point, some guys try to rob a video store, Blockbuster Video, and as Paul Verhoeven shows up, kind of storytelling where Robocop's standing there trying to defend a video store, and people are shooting it up, and the tapes go flying everywhere. And it's kind of thing he should have just taken it outside somehow. By the end of it, it looks like a mess where he destroyed it. Like, don't call RoboCop. Just let them rob the place. Follow them in your car. That's another thing about RoboCop is this is satire. It's extreme violence, and there is extreme violence in the video game. But as I was saying, the game shoots you out, and there's a really high of the music, the gameplay, the sound design. Peter Weller's back. This is the next RoboCop movie. And it shoots you out, and you're on this giant high of I'm watching the next RoboCop movie and I'm playing it. And then there's a dip of actually real world police work. And it's not fun. And then you get to the end of the game, and it shoots you right back out on this high of the story is the next RoboCop movie, and everything's all healed. By the end of the game, it heals the damage done of what you thought was wasting your time. Because I don't want to spoil it. There's character moments, there's battle moments. There's, if I remember correctly, you're up against the brother of the guy from the first movie. And I think that's what happened. I'm a Robocop fan. I haven't written it, but I've put together a treatment for Robocop 4. And it's pretty good. The older he gets, the better. And in that somehow I've been trying to think of a villain, a really neat villain name. And all I can think of is Robocop 2, where he just says, Kane. Kane. It's too good. So I've been trying to think of a new Robocop villain. And I don't know. There's one moment where you fight the big robot. And it's dangerous. It's not like the old 8-bit version on the NES, where you get the tank rifle and you shoot it a couple times and you duck. No, I got stuck fighting that. I got stuck fighting it. It's the Ed 209. It's dangerous. And it really is a challenge. There are other things that show up in the game. It's really interesting. There's a plot about machines. I'm not going to spoil any of it. I'm going to say that as a first-person shooter, it's entertaining. Your love of Robocop will carry you through. The game itself, if you have to be a fan of Robocop, because it something happens where reality shows up. Yeah, I highly recommend Robocop. That is the end of this game is an action movie that would make you applaud in the theater. It's that kind of heroic moment that you really can't believe that they pulled off. It felt like I was watching Robocop 3 and they really did it right. Not 3, 4. Okay, that's Robocop Rogue City. I don't want to play any more of it. I just like the story of Robocop. They'd have to do something different, like make it third person. Get rid of all the detective work. Have them just clean up bad guy bins or something. Put Robocop in Nazi Germany, or I don't know. They'd have to do something where, like start World War III and put Robocop in. They'd have to do something different. But they did a good job. hats off for video games aren't easy to build. So hats off to the world immersion that happened. And those are my thoughts on Robocop Rogue City.